To be fair, UCC, when I was here in UCC, it was the first time I ever went to counselling. And I definitely had needed to go because of my friend dying. So that for me was like a big change, because I was like quite depressed from like the age of 20, or not 20, 17 to maybe like 21. And I went to counselling here in my third year, which was my final year. And that really like changed a lot for me and like got me off a fairly dark path. So like that's something I think about a lot, that like, and the fact that like I could go to student counselling and it was free, like, you know, the fact that there isn't public counselling available for everyone, that's a huge benefit of being a student, that you can get it pretty handy. So that was a big defining moment. But like, I suppose beyond the the mental health of it all, like I think experiences everyone has, like met some of my best friends here, spent a lot of time in the library, just like, you know, moments in college that like, I suppose when they're happening, you're like, oh, this is just my day-to-day life. But then when you come out of that phase and you're like expected to be like a responsible adult, you're kind of like, oh, I miss those days where like we were supposed to be studying, but we were just messing around having coffee, or we were going, maybe we were sneaking off for a pint or something. And just those actual experiences are some of my favorite memories. Even though like the whole time I was struggling with mental health, there was still these kind of like pockets of like really good times. Oh, I could add, sorry, I can't believe I forgot about this. So I played basketball for the college for the 3 years I was there, and varsity weekend was the big college tournament. I don't think when I was there UCC ever hosted it, but basically we went to Dublin one year, Belfast the second year, and then I think it was Galway. We ended up winning the varsities in Galway, for the B varsities. And those weekends, like those experiences, like all of, because like the basketball community in Ireland is small enough anyway, that like basically you'd go away, all the colleges of Ireland would be in the same place, staying in the same hotels, playing in the same stadiums or halls, and you basically knew everyone. So it was like this like pocket universe of basketball in the middle of college, and they were like some of the best experiences I had in college as well. They were brilliant. Yeah, so I started Thoughts Too Big, which is the mental health blog, in UCC, because actually in first year when I did the computer science module, one of the first things we learned was like how to set up a WordPress blog, and it was really like basic, but I didn't have a clue what was going on. So then we started that, and then I kind of had that information. So then I think it was in third year, yeah, because I had started counselling and I was like improving, and then I was like, I want to do something for mental health. So I started that blog then, and that was my first decision to like do formal writing on a weekly basis, and I was writing every week. So that was like the start of it, and then I started writing short fiction maybe like a year later, but I was still writing the blog. So I was like really just like, yeah, the beginning of it was here, to be fair, which is exciting. I was actually thinking about this on the way up, like, because before college you're kind of like, you're very much like everyone else in your life, like the guys I was in school with, or like the people I hung around with in my grand's park or whatever. Like you're kind of like all the same, or you're at least all trying to be the same, because you're just trying to fit in. And then in college there's like, I don't know, there's just a freedom to like, because you're coming into a new place where no one knows you, there's a freedom not to like pretend to be someone else, but like to actually just be yourself. So I think in that sense, like I got to know myself a lot better here. I obviously like got on the road to pulling myself out of like quite a severe depression. And then because of that, I would naturally like go on and talk a lot about my depression and talk about like how that affected me and how it affected my relationships with other people. So like, yeah, what I learned about myself and like how I improved mentally while I was in UCC definitely like directly impacted my voice as a writer. Because like if I hadn't come here and met people and done psychology and learned about like you know, depression and anxiety and schizophrenia and suicidality, and like actually learned all this stuff to understand what happened to my friend and what could happen to me, then I probably wouldn't have had like I wouldn't have been like so certain I could write about this stuff if I didn't have all that education, because I would have been like, oh, well, like, why should I be writing about this? I don't actually know anything. But then I actually did know stuff, so I was able to write about it. And like, mental health to this day is still a massive part of all my writing. So I think if I hadn't come here, I wouldn't be able to do that. I think for sure, like, and this isn't trying to be disparaging, but like, in a lot of ways, the degree is actually like the least valuable thing you get from going to college. It's more like, I always tell people, like, it's not so much about what you're learning about, it's more like how college teaches you how to think and how to like, and like, just the cross section is so diverse that you're like, you might have lived a certain way your entire life to that point, and then you see there's all these different ways to be and live and identify and emerge and explore. And you don't get that if you don't go to college. And I think that's incredibly valuable. Like, obviously the degrees are valuable, but I think like on a personal level and an interpersonal level, it's the cross section of who you meet and who you interact with that can like just expand your potential. And because like, you might come in to college and be like, I want to do this and I want to do this and I'm going to do this. You have this whole plan, and then that can completely change once you get to college, because you might you know, just find a new path that you never thought of before because it wasn't part of your world. So like, that's really important.